All right, so this video will be a review of what we covered in Thursday's class on January 25th. We were still catching up some folks on downloading, installing the libraries that kind of run in the background of Revit. So as I start to do this, it'll be obvious if you don't have it. So if you don't have it, pause, go back to my email in the kind of previous video, make sure you've downloaded it. Folks were having some issues between both Wi-Fi and just their own computers. So if you need help, no problem with that. Everybody got their set up just fine. It just took a few minutes to kind of restart everybody basically. If you have questions about it, feel free to email me because I can kind of help troubleshoot based on what happened in class Thursday. All right, so by now, if you've been able to follow along, you have all the exterior and interior walls. You can very easily change this, and we will be changing this as we move forward and start putting furniture in here because you'll start to see if rooms are too big or too small. But roughly, this is the layout I have. One of the things I want to draw your attention to is I want to put an opening in this wall. Like I think I might want to have a whole wall here. Might change it later to glass walls. We were playing with glass walls too, so I can help if you want to kind of jump ahead and do that also. But the first thing I had everybody do is to put doors in. So the easiest way to do this is you're over here at the architecture tab, and then you go to door. And right now you can see I have stuff preloaded, but if you open it up, just for the first time, it's only going to have this single flush door, which is, it's a starter door. We talked about in class that for commercial projects, they have to be at least 36 inches wide, generally 84 inches tall is what you want to. That's basically commercial size of height and width. The 36, again, is to allow folks who have like a walker or a cane or a wheelchair, that'll be plenty of space for them to be able to move through. So a lot of these extra ones are now that you see on my plan are loaded from behind the scenes. There's a whole library. These kind of pieces, instead of blocks, like we call them in CAD, they're now called families. So over here, since we're kind of actively looking for doors, this modify button has popped up, and now we can load families. So if we click on that, what's going to happen is Revit should automatically take you to this file. Talked about it a little bit in class that this is the root where those folders are stored. Some folks, we kind of double check to see if it was installed correctly, but Revit will automatically create all these files and install it for you. Later on, when we get downloading things from other places, you might have to go back and forth on your computer into downloads, open other things. If you ever need to get back to the default, this is the path here. And there's a big kind of graphic and listing of this on the Moodle too, just so you kind of get used to looking for it. So if you open it up, and if here under the US, there's only maybe I think it was 4 things that we saw, it means you have not correctly installed the library yet. So this is where if you haven't, pause, go back, try to troubleshoot that, and also contact me if you need help troubleshooting. But from here on out, you're going to need this libraries installed to do the rest of what I'm going to show you. So all the libraries here have all these different categories that are going to kind of match what you're working on. So here's doors right here. So we double click on doors. Avoid any of these ones that say curtain in them. This means that they are specifically for glass wall systems, meaning you have to build a glass wall first and then put this door in. So a couple of students were like, oh, these are cool looking. It's not going to let you put it in. I can kind of show you right now. So if I click on this door, it's gonna add it now to my door library. Actually, it's not even gonna add it because it's gonna be like, you don't have any glass going on. I don't want to do that. So literally it just won't do it for you. So what we did is we first started with commercial doors to get some exteriors. So you want to have an exterior door. We are going to avoid this lovely revolving one because it's not ADA. And this is more for an airport and things like this, or hotels. We're not going to use that in our project. We don't have enough floor space for it. But so kind of look through, again, these are not super attractive at this stage, so we will play with it some more. But there's a mix of interior and exterior doors. Lots of people kind of liked ones that obviously had more glass to it. So I'm going to just use this one for a second. So if you wanted a double door for your front door, now you want to scroll down. And again, you have an option of the widths. We want to keep it to 7 feet tall. You can have a 6-foot wide one because again, 2 people can kind of pass coming in and out that way. So there's my door. It's going to kind of load it for me on my icon here. It's going to take a second. There it goes. Okay, so now I have it. So then I can kind of put it where I planning space planning wise, I can always change it. Now, in this case, when I click, this door is swinging in. That's not correct for commercial. We need to be able to swing our doors outward. If you ever had to rush out with a group of people, you are not like, pushing up against the door. So as you click it, you notice there's little arrows back and forth. This is to change the door swing. Obviously, it doesn't affect this guy, but just flip it inside or out. We click this one, and now it's on the outside. So that's good to go. Now, once I'm done, say if I want to use this door again, I go back over to door, and now that guy's going to be already preloaded. So as you bring more and more stuff in, this is going to fill up. That's fine. That's great. It's at your disposal. So now, say for example, you want something a little bit prettier than that, just basic flush door. Again, you're going to go back to load family because see, it still wants to put that double door in. So it's still popping more in. So if I go back to load family, one of the things we talked about for your exterior doors, I obviously want you to use exterior commercial doors. That's the most correct. However, for your interior doors, you can pick from residential because again, this is just kind of the look of it. So there is some exterior ones that are nice. I mean, if you really love these, you're allowed to use them, I guess. But for my offices, here's the single ones. You can start to see that they have a little bit more. They have some paneling on them. There's not as many with glass in here. Well, there's that one guy right there. So I might use that just for fun. We can later on edit out the lines are called mullions. The rectangles are called lights, actually. So we can kind of edit the look of that later on. But just to bring it in for now, again, see, it's giving me my choice of how wide they are. So they go down to even like 1.5 feet. So that would be like, like a bathroom vanity closet for like towels or something like that. But you need to go all the way up to 3 feet and 8 feet high. So we're going to say okay for that. And then these are my like primary offices over here. So maybe those folks like to have that door. So it's starting to load. So I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one over here. So the one on the right is positioned where I want it to be. The one on the left here, I just want to flip it. So then I use the little flip and I kind of flip it like that. So that one's looking pretty good. You can also nudge it down so they're kind of, more centered to where you want them to be. One of the things we've been starting to play with a lot in class is just how to look at our model in 3D as we go along. So you go to view for that. And then you go under the little house here, the 3D, you click on it, you pick camera, then you stick the camera basically where you would stand and look. And say if I wanted to look at what this door in this hallway looks like, I'd go like that. And then I can see it there. And in class, I kind of keep telling everyone to open up the view, meaning drag these buttons kind of left and right. Right now it's a little tight, but you can see kind of what this looks like here. My walls might be a little short, so I might check on that in a minute because they kind of look. Actually, let's look at it together now. So we'll go to the 3D model. So I get to there by clicking this. Oh, I see. Yeah, all these interior walls are kind of short. So I'm going to bring them up to 10 feet now, all these little walls. And I'm going to click them all, click them, click them, click them. And there, I think I got all of them. So the height right here is it says height unconnected height. I want to make that now instead of 8 feet. I want to make that 10 feet. And I might have missed one over here on the right, but I'll change that later on. All right. So now if I go actually back to this view I made, this is 3D view number 4. Now we can see that my door isn't like ending at the top of the wall there. All right. So that's doors. The one thing kind of folks were looking for also for doors, let me go back to architecture, door, is what's called the cased opening, meaning, cutting a hole in the wall. In this case, in this hallway, I want to pass through. So I'm going to click load family. And that was under, where did we find it? I think it's under the main menu here. So if you go back up to doors, and then it was door opening. So if you click on it, you can see that there's one there. There's a couple kind of buried in here. There's a few other choices, I think, under residential too. That's your basic shape, and you're just going to change the width of it. So as I put it in, I'll click on that. I think it comes in default. Oh, no, it's coming in as a door. Let's see if we can change that. Let's see if we go back to door, if it brought in cased opening for me. Oh, let me pause and we'll see what happened there. We'll kind of troubleshoot it together. Okay, so what was happening with the door here? So if you go, I clicked on the architecture tab, I clicked on door. Turns out it was loading it here, but for whatever reason, like the active one that I was trying to click in kept reverting back to the last door I did. Kind of like, remember if we had like CAD blocks and you'd bring in a sink and you bring in a chair, but it kept looking like a sink. Sometimes like the memory hiccup. So you just kind of close out have it do something else, then come back. So in my case, it did have the door openings here already. So I'm going to pick this 36 by 84. Now it's only 36 wide, but I can change its width later. So if I want to put it here, so this is correct the way it's showing it. So it's showing this kind of like hatch lines. So it's letting us know that there is a part of the wall up above us, but that this is the opening here. So if I want to make this wider, one of the things you're going to play with a lot is the nice thing about Revit is they don't make the properties thing like overloaded with information. So they're going to have basic information here under the first screen of properties. But with Revit, there's always going to be stuff hidden more under these little buttons or these little tabs right here. So in this case, this little tab where it says edit type, I can go into that and now I can kind of control more of how this family works. So in this case, it says the rough width is 5 feet. I'm going to make that a lot wider. I can just override it there. It's not going to work for everything. Sometimes you don't have the options to override things because it's tied to real world products that people are selling. In this case, they're giving us the flexibility to do that. So another thing with Revit is you have to tell it to apply and then you say, okay. And now see how it's nice and big and actually got a little too wide over there. So I'm going to pull it over to this way. And there it's kind of like, and what I did, the way I did that is I clicked on it and I'm using my little arrows on my keypad to kind of nudge it left and right. So I'm going to leave that there just as a placeholder. So that's doors. I would suggest for now getting them from the library that's here with Revit. I'm going to show everybody on Monday how to get models and things from other places and how we pull them in. But right now, as you're learning, this is kind of the best place to get things from and the easiest for our first project. So it's really similar to do windows. You're going to click on window and you're going to say, I have a lot more preloaded. I think this fixed one is the default one that's there. Again, it's okay. But if you want to have more options for your window, what you're going to do now is go to load family again. And then in this case, I'm still at doors. So I'm going to click at that, go back up to the US. So we're looking at US models, slide down to where it gets to windows, open that up. And then your windows are all in here. Again, avoid curtain walls because they're special and they go into the special glass curtain walls. This is an opening, just like we had the cased opening for a door. So like say if you had, like if you have a kitchen where there's often an opening like through an island into the next room. Here's where we get into all the rest. There's skylights too. We can play with those if you wanted to. We don't have a ceiling yet, so the skylights won't go in until we have a ceiling. But right now, here's all the different kinds of windows. For now, again, ignore what the mullions and the lights are doing because you can change that later. You don't want something so traditional. So really, it's kind of pay attention to the shape and how this window functions. So there's a lot of different options here. Again, you are going to be limited to how big, like how wide you can make this because they're going to be following real world math of what they're going to honestly like be able to deliver to you or not. So let me go back to here. Which is the one that I keep using? There's one that I like that a couple other students are playing with too. There's one that kind of opens nicely. So let me go back and get one. I think it's oh, I'm in doors again. Let me bring up the windows. So US and then down all the way down to windows. And some of these are nice that on the model, you can kind of see also how they're opening. So I believe awning is the ones that kind of open, kind of like swing out into the outside. So let me put this one in first and see if that one is how I want it. I'm going to put that. So again, I'm going to pick a nice wide one. Notice it's only 3 feet high. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play with that much, but we'll kind of like mess around here. So this is what took the most time for people in class. It's just finding things that they liked, playing with the heights of it. I'll tell you kind of the trick we're coming up with for glass if we want to have a much bigger expansive glass. So let me get that window in there. Oh, it's still kind of loading itself apparently. Once you bring it in for the first time, it takes like a couple seconds, but then once it's in your model, it's always going to be here on the left-hand side. All right, so come on. It's kind of rolling through. Okay, so this is what we talked about in class. This is a good example right here. You look up closely, the glass is right here. So this is actually the window ledge. So what you want to do is similar to the doors. You want to flip this guy around so that you have a nice window ledge on the inside of your room and the glass is here. So it's going to take a second there. All right, I'm going to put another one there over on this wall. So I can literally do Control C and I can do Control V and that'll also come up over here and stick it there. Oh, wait, that didn't work right. It did the whole wall. Let me do that again. So I go back to window. think it's gonna be preloaded. Yeah, it's still loaded, the same guy. So I'm gonna put them here. So the one on the top corner is correct. The one on the bottom corner is gonna be incorrect. And we're gonna set up a view really quick so you can see that. So if we go to view, 3D view, so underneath the house, pick the camera. We're gonna put the camera here. We're gonna look this way. And so you can see right away kind of the differences. So this one on the right is correct. So what is happening here is it's got this nice ledge. Which again, if you were in this room, in this office, you could put plants on there, you know, it's just correct. This one is basically the exterior of it. So this is the window we want to flip around. So the cool thing about this model. So right now we're going to go back to level 1, click on this, flip them around. And because this is all coming from the same file, the same 3D model, we go back over to this view has now updated to show the same thing. And again, people are already kind of exploring and jumping back and forth and doing these 3D views because it makes it real easy to right away see how something is working, you know, versus just looking at it on the plan. All right, so homework was to finish putting in doors, put in windows. Again, you might find yourself, you know, playing with them a bit. I'm going to pause the video here, but then I'll explain a little bit about how we do glass walls. So I'm going to set up a couple examples just so you can see them. Okay, I created 3 different types of glass walls that Revit gives you by default. There's others, talk about that kind of in the probably second video. So here in level 1, if we're looking at them, they don't look super different. They kind of come in just real skinny. This is the one that is kind of beefed up more and you can see more details to it. These things are called basically the mullions. These are the connections between the chunks of glass. This one, you know, you only see like teeny tiny ones. So what these are going from left and right, if you go over to architecture and wall architectural. So way down at the bottom, Revit gives you 3 glass wall options. Curtain wall, that's something you technically use for the inside, but I'll give you a little bit of flexibility on that. This one is the exterior glazing right here. This one is the middle one. And then storefront is the third. So let me show you what that looks like again. So I made a 3D view of them. So curtain wall comes in blank, basically. It's a big chunk of glass. You can kind of play with it however you want. You can cut it up however you want. So it gives you a lot of flexibility of like, have as big a piece as you want. That's not really correct because nobody's going to ship you that size piece, but it's starting you with kind of like a blank canvas. However, you can't just put a door in here. So if you wanted to use this on the inside of your building to say like make like a glass enclosed conference room or have somebody's office have a nice glass wall, what you have to do is you have to edit this guy. You have to kind of cut in the sections of glass. You have to basically cut exactly the size of your door. So it'd be like 3 feet by or 36 by 84. And then you swap out that little piece of glass with the curtain wall door. I have videos how to do that. It's clunky. And usually I don't encourage people to do it until they start to get more comfortable in this program. Just like using Revit. So there's a trick to this that we'll talk about in the furniture video part, because there's furniture companies that make wall systems that behave a lot nicer and more easily. And already some of your classmates started downloading them and playing with them, and they're a lot more user friendly. And Anthony and I have been suggesting them for a couple of years now instead of doing it like through Revit. This guy right here is what's called the exterior glass wall. So it's this, so let me bring it back up so you can see them. There it is there. It is the exterior glazing one. So that one, this one will function just fine as using this as an exterior wall on your office. So you're welcome to use this guy if you want. This one is going to come preloaded with how the glass is cut. Because again, this is the amount or the size and shape that they can ship, like this width and this height. That's like real world. They can deal with that. This storefront glass, this is more like when you think about, say, like the mall, or again, any businesses where like the bottom half of the building is a storefront. This is beefed up a lot more because there's a lot more kind of steel and things going on that's just supporting it. So it's just a different kind of look too. So if you wanted to have an exterior wall, you could use this guy here. So I'll show you here. So one of the easiest things is you can either like, say for example, let me think, if I wanted to have this section here be glass wall. So the best thing to do is click on that wall. Then up here as the editing pops up, this button is the split element. So I'm going to like split it, say like here. And let's see. So now I have like two kind of like handles to my door, my wall. And then if I want to put a new section in here, I go over to architecture, wall, wall architectural. And then my choices are going to pop up here. And there's exterior curtain wall, exterior glazing. It's right there. It's kind of active because that's the last one I drew with. And then I'm just going to kind of start drawing that wall from here to here. And Revit will be happy with that. That's kind of how it's supposed to look. So let's get a camera and see how that guy looks. So I went to view, 3D view camera. I'm going to look at it, say like from over here. And that should be a nice big expansive glass. Yep, there it is. All right, so you can, start playing with that too. This one is pretty forgiving in terms of editing it. Again, it's a little tricky putting doors in. You can't just put it in anywhere. It's going to ask you to edit it. And so, like I said, I'm happy to help folks troubleshoot that. So I'm going to stop this video because it's a lot of info. And then I will make a shorter one for how to add furniture. So if you're moving along just fine, that's kind of where some of the class already started jumping into that as they went looking for better glass systems, basically. All right. And I will go over that in class with everybody on Monday because, like I said, not everybody got to the point to start looking at furniture together.